All right, Shalom Akim. First and foremost, before I begin this lesson, I want to say call hello Yahweh Ba'Hashem Yahushai Ba'Hashem Rachah HaKodash. That honors be to the apostles, elders of Great Millstone who rule and teach well. Shalom be to you brothers and sisters out there, man. All right. This is just going to be a brief lesson going into what a brother had asked on the comment board of a lesson I did, the brother Chaya and myself had done. The brother he asked me if I believe that Esau is a so-called white man. And the answer is yes. So when I say yes, you're probably like, okay, so that means you're an Edomite. Well, no, because it's important to understand, first of all, there are 18. There's 18 nations on the planet Earth. Okay, excluding Israel, there's 17, which all those 17 nations are going into slavery for 1,000 years. But we know that Esau, Edom, out of those 17 nations, which is essentially the antagonist of the movie, the villain of the movie, if you will, is going to be destroyed after those 1,000 years. Okay, but there's 18 nations in total. So how do you determine what nation you're from? Well, we're going to examine the scriptures, right? Because the scriptures say what? Prove all things, right? The brother Yawanah, beloved brother Yawanah, man, he always brings that out. Prove all things. All right, so this is Numbers 1 and 18. It says, and they assembled all the congregation together on the first day of the second month, and they declared their pedigrees after their families by the house of their fathers, according to the number of the names from 20 years old and upward by their polls. So it goes according to your father. Okay? Your heritage, your race is determined by your father. Okay? What is known as your patrilineal, meaning if your great grandfather is a so-called Negro, but you look like a so-called Chinese man, guess what? If it goes through your father's father, it goes up your patrilineal. Look that word up, patrilineal. That means you're an Israelite. Okay? So now, of course, none of us have the records going all the way back to Jacob. That's thousands upon thousands years ago, right? So how do we know today that we're Israelites? Well, this is where we go here. Okay, Romans 8 and 16. The Spirit itself beareth witness with our spirit that we are the children of God. So it's all based off the Spirit. The reality of it is, if you come into this truth and you believe on Yahweh Ba'Hashem Yahushai, you got to be an Israelite. Because there's no heathen, damn sure not no Edomite, that's going to believe on Yahweh Ba'Hashem Yahushai. The scriptures talk about how the name of the Lord is dreadful upon the heathen. The scriptures talk about how none of the wicked shall understand. That's Daniel 12 and 10. All right. And Esau, Edom is known as the wicked. The so-called white man is known as the wicked. So the Edomites collectively are the so-called Caucasian race, but you have Israelites that look so-called Caucasian, just like how you have Edomites that may look so-called black. All right, which that's going into the parable of the wheat and the tares. The wheat being the Israelites, the tares being the Edomites that look like so-called black people, right? You see? It wouldn't make sense for the tares to be so-called white people. That wouldn't make any sense because it tells you in the scriptures that the wheat and the tares look alike. The tares is speaking about Edomites that have the appearance of so-called Negroes, okay? Meaning they look like typical Israelites. So just because you may not fit in the category of a so-called Negro, Latino, or Native American, that doesn't mean that you're not an Israelite. Okay? So am I white? Am I so-called white? Yes. But my father's lineage, my patrilineal, goes back to the tribe of Levi. Goes back to the so-called Haitians. So I'm an Israelite from the tribe of Levi. It doesn't matter what I look like. You see? Let me go ahead and get this. Sirach. And that was a great question. You know, that's a very great question. And that's going to become more and more relevant as we go by. You know, as day by day goes, that's going to become more and more relevant. You see, because you're going to start having more and more Israelites that believe that look so-called white. Okay, and T Dog, I don't know you personally, but for all I know, you might look so-called white. So that's why you might have asked. The reality is, bro, if you believe this truth, you're an Israelite. It doesn't matter what you look like. Okay, this is Sirach 11:2. Commend not a man for his beauty, neither abhor a man for his outward appearance. So you're not supposed to hate somebody because of how they look. Okay? We don't hate Edomites because collectively they look so-called white with pale skin, blue-eyed, blonde hair, whatever. We hate them because they're the seed of the wicked. They're the seed of the devil. Right? Let's go ahead and go to Leviticus 19. I believe it's verse 17, though. Nope, 15. Slovakia. Leviticus 19:15. Ye shall do no unrighteousness in judgment. Thou shalt not respect the person of the poor, nor honor the person of the mighty, but in righteousness shalt thou judge thy neighbor. So it's unrighteous to judge somebody based upon how they look. If somebody comes up to the camp, somebody comes on the comm board, and they truly believe what you're saying, and they want to worship Yahweh Shema Shai, as it says in John 4, they want to worship God in spirit and in truth, then they got to be Israelites. So who are you to cast them off and say, no, you can't get this word, this ain't for you, you're going into slavery, you're going the hell off. You see? But then Jake will open arms accept a man that looks so-called black, but the whole time he's an Edomite. Oh, no, brother, you're an Israelite, you got to repent, this and that. And the whole time he's an Edomite, man. So you can't base it off physical appearance. Okay, this is based off of the spirit. Matter of fact, if you want to be technical, I believe it's Matthew 17:16. Yahushua said, if an Israelite neglects to hear the church, let him be unto thee as a heathen man and a publican. Matter of fact, that's Matthew 18:17, if I'm not mistaken. But just look up publican and then go to Matthew. But Yahushua said, if he neglect to hear the church, let him be unto thee as a heathen man and a publican. So as a publican, so all the Israelites that don't want to cleave onto Yahweh Shema Shai, as of right now, they're liking on the heathens regardless. They're not literally heathens, right? They're still Israelites according to the flesh, they're patrilineal, but like it says in Romans 9, not all Israel is Israel, okay? So it's not based off of how you look, it's based off of your spirit. If you cleave onto this truth, if you believe in the words of Yahweh Shema Shai, you got to be an Israelite. That's the only logical way this would make any sense. Cornelius, the centurion that believed in Acts, I believe 10 and Acts 11, that's an Israelite. Okay, the centurion that asked Yahushua to heal his servant just by words, that was an Israelite. Okay, only Israelites can believe in this truth, man. You see? This is not for other nations. This is not for Edomites, especially, right? Edom is the base men. That's the worst of the worst. Okay? It's all based upon the spirit, but back then it's based upon your patrilineal. Let me prove that, right? Even more. Ezra chapter 2, verse 59. It says, and this is during the time of the second temple rebuild, okay? Ezra 2 and 59. And these were they which went up from Tel Malah, Tel Harsa, Cherub, Adon, and Immer. But they could not shew their father's house and their seed, whether they were of Israel. So guess what? Since they didn't have the record showing that they went back to such and such tribe, of the nation of Israel, through their father's lineage, they couldn't help rebuild the temple. Okay? So realistically, today, none of us can prove that we're Israelites. It's just all faith-based. It tells you in the scriptures, in Habakkuk, the 2nd chapter, the just shall live by faith. I believe it's the 3rd verse, right? It's all based upon the spirit. So at the end of the day, if you believe this truth, you got to be an Israelite. That, once again, that's the only logical reasoning to this. Okay? Let me go ahead and get another one. All right, and this one especially is going to prove that just because your mother may be a heathen, which personally speaking, I believe my mother is an Israelite, but it doesn't matter because at some point it was a heathen. Which it's even in statistics, even Esau brought that out. Majority of Israelites, man, really all Israelites at some point in their family have a heathen mixed in there, man. There is nobody on the planet Earth right now that is so-called 100% Israelite. We've all mingled among the heathens, man. Especially here in America. Best believe you more than likely got so-called white in you. Okay? Or something else. You know? But this is 1 Kings 14 and 21. It says, and Rehoboam, which who was that? That was the son of King Solomon. He was a Judite, right? He was the first king over Judah after the split. Because once King Solomon died, the southern and the northern kingdom had split. Because at one point it was just Israel. And then it became the southern and the northern kingdom. The northern kingdom had Jeroboam, if I'm not mistaken, was that his name? And then the southern kingdom had Rehoboam, right? So this is the first king of Judah, the son of King Solomon. 1 Kings 14 and 21. And Rehoboam, the son of Solomon, reigned in Judah. Rehoboam was 41 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned 17 years in Jerusalem, the city which Yahweh did choose out of all the tribes of Israel to put his name there. Now that's the key right here. And his mother's name was Naamah, and Ammonitis. And Ammonitis is what? A woman of the nation of Ammon. The Ammonites today are who? The so-called Japanese. So guess what? Rehoboam's mother was a heathen. But was he a heathen? No. He was made king over Judah. He was an Israelite from the tribe of Judah. If you having a heathen mother made you a heathen, why the hell did the Israelites allow him to be the king? Put two and two together, man. You know, it wouldn't make no sense. Here's another one, and this is actually the last one, and I'm going to go ahead and close it up. Because brothers have made, countless videos on Israelite foreigners, and which is the term that we use for Israelites that look like heathen nations. And we've made countless videos on Esau Edom being the so-called white man. You know, if Esau Edom wasn't the so-called white man, then who the hell is it, realistic, no disrespect. I'm just putting this out there to whoever, because we've had guys in the past that they'll go tooth and nail. Oh, it's the Arabs. No, bro, it's not. That would mean that we're not in the last captivity. The Arabs have no dominion on this planet, bro. The so-called white man has ruled since the Renaissance period. Okay? Which ironically enough, the Renaissance, the word Renaissance means what? Rebirth or reborn. Because Esau Edom went down during the time of the pagan Roman Empire. And that's when Jake took over the Holy Roman Empire, when he was bound. Esau was bound for that 1,000 years. And then Esau came back up during what? The 13th, 1400s. All right. The 14th and 15th century, he came back up into power during the Renaissance. And he's been up since then. Okay. It tells you in 2nd Esdras 6 and 9, Esau is the end of the world. Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth, man. The so-called white man, this is the last captivity. He's the last ruler of the planet Earth before the kingdom of heaven. All right. But this is 1 Chronicles 23 and 14 to 15. Now, if you know about Moses' wife, I believe her name was Zipporah. She was a heathen, right? I believe she was a Hamite, if I'm not mistaken, but she was a heathen. You can correct me if I'm wrong in terms of the exact, son of Noah she came from, but I'm pretty sure she was a Hamite, okay? But she was a heathen nonetheless. 1 Chronicles 23, 14 to 15. Now concerning Moses, the man of God, right? Moses was a Levite, remember? He was the brother of Aaron. His sons were named of the tribe of Levi. The sons of Moses were Gershom and Eleazar. So guess what? Moses' sons, although they had a heathen mother, they were what? Israelites. Okay, so Lord will that this was edifying to the elect. I want to give all praise to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Archa HaKodash. Give honors be to the apostles, elders, great millstone, and rule and teach well. Shalom to you brothers and sisters out there, man. Shalom.